introduce you to such a good friend. Catherine Jewell. I've known her almost as long as I've been back in Austin for the 5th time, but maybe 10 years or something like that. But as I was saying earlier, in the early years, she was so clever about figuring out ways to make money with her considerable skill set of being able to help people find jobs. She's quite amazing in that. I remember a time when she was saying, sign up and we're going to have kitchen table discussion. Come to my house. We'll all sit around my kitchen table. I'll feed you lunch, and we're going to talk about how to help you find a job. And then for a while she had an internet radio show or something like that. I can't remember exactly how that worked, but people would connect from all over the country. People would get advice from her over the phone, over the internet, and she would have speakers. I was a speaker once, and a lot of other people on our board were speakers. But then she reinvents herself, and then sometimes she gets real jobs. And so she worked at Dell for a long time as a consultant and so forth. But she's got tons of skills. She's written at least 2 books, maybe more, on how to find a job, different aspects of the job search. She's smart, she's clever, she's funny, and I would love for you to give her just an enormous round of applause. Catherine Jewell.
Bigger, bigger. Okay, well, I want to ask you, why do we love Rocky? He's inspirational. He's an underdog, exactly. Rocky had not the body to be a heavyweight boxer. He didn't have the skills. He didn't have what he needed, but he had one thing, and it was passion. And when you watch that movie and you see him drink the raw eggs, remember? Oh, and then go out running and running and running. And he runs up to the top of a big federal building and raises his hands like this. And he says, I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. And that is the kind of passion that I want to convince you to bring to your job search. Are you willing to do it? Yeah. Say yes. 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 You gotta love Rocky. You gotta love that kind of passion. So I want to talk today about how to get you moved from where you are now, which might be peeved, to passionate. Is anybody peeved out there? Yes. Yes. Or maybe you're feeling annoyed, bent out of shape, boiling, displeased, fit to be tied, furious, incensed, inflamed, livid, mad, offended, outraged, provoked. By the way, I was going to try to memorize these, and I just couldn't. Steamed, teed off, and my very favorite, ticked off. Anybody feel that way about your job search? Anybody feel that way about being in a job search? Oh, yeah. I mean, it is one of the toughest things you will ever face as an adult. So congratulations. You're in the tunnel. You're there. And there are so many resources here, and thank you so much, Kathy, for providing them. For example, all the recruiters and all the job boards and everything else that she provides are just incredible resources. And so what I want to encourage every one of you to do is to take in what I have to say today and allow it to wash over you. Because you probably are some of these things. So I want you to stand up very quickly and tell another person what is the one thing that peeves you the most about job seeking. So get up and do that right now, real quick. It is very hard to give one thing that you're peed off about, right? And peeved about. All right, thank you very much for having a seat. I'm going to pass around a couple of clipboards. Twice a month, I issue an e-newsletter. It's called Career Passion News. Once you're on my list, you find out about all the events and everything else that I have to offer. And I promise you that every 2 weeks, you're going to get some useful information. If you're not on my list, go ahead and sign up. And I'm just going to trust that you can wind it back there. Okay, so what are some of the things that you heard? What are people ticked off about when it comes to job seeking? What's that? Age discrimination. Okay, we heard that in like 4 different places. Age discrimination. What else is ticking you off? What's that? Skill discrimination. Yeah, if you're not the purple squirrel with exactly 7 years of this and 5 years of this and 3 years of that, then somehow you're not what they want, right? What else ticks you off? No response, no feedback, and I hear that all the time from my clients. So we are angry about too many job boards, too many jobs that don't fit. Have you ever signed up at a job board and suddenly you're inundated with all these stupid jobs that have nothing to do with you and your skills? That's why you want to sign up with Indeed. That's why you want to stick with what works and not get yourself caught up in too much of this other stuff. Too much time to customize your resume. Because we're telling you, you got to customize, you got to customize. We're also upset because it's too much time to do government applications. Oh, you know what? A few weeks ago, I volunteered. I had just taken a class in how to do government applications. And one of my clients was applying to TxDOT. And I said, no problem. I'll give up Good Friday and we'll do this together. After 2.5 hours, I said, you know what, Jeff? I think you got this. I'm cutting out now. 2.5 hours, and we were about halfway through. So that is very irritating. But the good news is that by using the techniques that we learned, he not only has 1 but 2 offers from TxDOT. So it is worth the effort. The other thing is there's too little feedback. And, you know, in the business world, it is inappropriate to not respond to an email. Is that not true? It is just not polite to ignore people. But when you're a job seeker, that rule does not apply, right? Because HR people are the ones holding the cards, and they're the ones who are looking for people. And if you don't fit the bill, they don't even have time to respond. So what does that mean? You've got to get over what you're angry about so that you can move on. And this last one, I think, is true of a lot of people, and that's too little respect. Because we don't feel respected for all the years of experience and for all the things that we've done. So, the most important thing is to look at what do you want in your new career. And what most people want in their coming career is more training, more freedom, more autonomy, more respect, and more recognition than they had in their last job. What happens is after you've been out of work for a certain period of time, for some people it's like 4 weeks, for some people it's 4 months, or maybe even a whole year, people start feeling desperate and they say to themselves, well, I want anything. And that is not helpful. And it minimizes your passion for your job search. So if anything, you want to go for the moon, because the moon is going to inspire you and it's going to excite you. So yesterday, I had a client come to my office, and he is a general manager of a retail store. He's been working retail for 18 years. And he told me, he said, you know, I currently make 65. Anything 70 or so would be good. And I said, no. You need to get $12,000 more just for the irritation of changing jobs. And then I had him sit down, and we took the yearly salary of 90. We divided it by, the 26 pay periods. And then we did 59% because that's about what he brings home from his gross. And I said, how would that feel every 2 weeks? And I want you to do the same thing. I want you to figure out, what is my target salary and what would that look like for me to be bringing home that much money every 2 weeks or every week, however you get paid. Because you want to start motivating yourself to do that. So, do you have passion? Have you got passion? So on a scale of 0 being apathetic and pretty passive, to 5 being active and caring, 7 being enthusiastic, and 10 being passionate and optimistic and over the moon, would you please now hold up your hands and show me your numbers? Okay, we got some 9s, 8s, great, 7s, 6s, yay! Okay, so the only thing I want to do is move you a couple of notches up the scale. Some people, frankly, are not passionate. I got very lucky. My father was so passionate that he normalized passion. You see the way I'm speaking now? This is my father in everyday life, okay? And he was so passionate that I thought everybody had it. I thought everybody had it. And then I finally figured out, well, it's kind of different. So that's why I call myself the career passion coach, because my goal is to get my clients into passion. So engagement's a real big problem in America today. 3 in 10 workers are fully engaged in their work. That's 30%. Now the good news for you is that if you can convince an employer that you will be fully engaged, he's got 7 out of 10 people on his staff that he would kind of like to get rid of. There 5 in 10 are not engaged at all, and 2 are actively disengaged. Now that's pretty scary. What does that add up to? That's all 10. So we only have 30% that are actively engaged. So here's what I'm going to suggest to you. I'll bet you that 30% of this room is actively engaged in your job hunt. Because if you weren't engaged in your work, you probably aren't engaged in your job hunt. So I'm going to suggest to you that we need to take that 30% and ramp it up and make it bigger and bigger. So you want to vow the next time I go to work, it's going to be better than the last time. So here are some ideas I want to give you as you're interviewing, as you're looking at companies. These are things that you're going to want to look for. How can you cause career passion that is so strong that you're just like this gal, that she's kicking. She is attacking her work with the same enthusiasm that she would use to attack her private life, her fun time. So here's what causes passion at work. Number one, you have to have a job that fits your behavior style. You heard today about openings in customer service. You know if you're customer service. If you're not customer service, you don't want that job, right? You want to pick a job that fits your behavior style. The other thing is you want to have a job that's both comfortable and a challenge. I'll never forget when I first started working, and I'm going to show my age now. 1972, I was advertising production manager for a magazine. And I could not get over the fact that I didn't have any more French tests. It was so amazing. I got to go to work really hard, and then I didn't have to think about it when I went home. Now, in 1972, we didn't have personal computers. We didn't have cell phones and smartphones. But the thing that I'm trying to tell you is that the job was comfortable because I could handle it, and it was ever-changing. And that's what you want to look for. Another thing that you absolutely positively want is a job that allows for growth. Now, I'm not just talking about another title, another higher salary. I'm talking about you're going to grow as a person in that job. You're going to be faced with situations where you have to be better, where you have to think on your feet, where you have to learn something new. And that's going to make you happy because human beings are designed for growth. I have a couple little baby grandsons, and oh my gosh, they're just amazing. Of course, any grandparents out here? Any grandparents? Okay, they are amazing. But the thing that's most amazing is that children never stop learning. There isn't a minute that they're not figuring something out. And it is so amazing. And when they're trying to walk, I mean, can you imagine falling 300 times in one day? Well, I've actually watched babies do that. And, of course they have diapers, there's a little bit of padding, but wow. That's passion, and that's passion for growth. Now, you want to get into an environment that's congenial. So, the last time when you worked with the backstabbers and the gossipers and the rotten apples, did you contribute? Did you find a way to rise above it? Or did you figure it out and you've avoided that situation altogether? So when you're interviewing, you really want to ask some pertinent questions of other employees at the company to find out if the environment's going to be congenial. This one item keeps most people from the most secure and important jobs on the planet, and those are jobs in government. Because there's a few bad apples and they spoil it for other people. But I've also helped clients rise above it and actually enjoy their work again because they decide to go above it. And the next item is the pay needs to be fair or better than fair. So how do you find out what's fair? Everybody in this room knows, right? Research. There it is. I use this probably 8-9 times a day. This happens to be for an internal auditor in Huntsville, Texas. And these figures are available, and then you really need to look at it very carefully and say to yourself, am I a mid-range person? Am I kind of at the lower end because of my experience level? Or should I be at the higher end? My goal with every one of my clients is to get them a $20,000 boost. For example, a woman came to me who had been a real estate agent for 6 years. Prior to that, she was in supply chain for a big manufacturer. And she said, well, you know, I'm making about $100K as a realtor, but I really don't like it because I don't have a team, and I miss people, and I miss the interaction. I love going to work every day, and I love being a corporate person, and I miss it. She says, now I know I'm going to have to start over. And I said to her, well, Kristen, have you had a head injury? And she said, well, no. Why would you ask? I said, why would you have to start over? You are 6 years smarter than you were before. I said, how much did you make before? 80. I said, okay, we're going to get you 110. 6 years later, 80,000 is 110, and we didn't get her 110. I'm really sorry to say, we got her 120. So she went back to her old career by selling the skills that she had, and she went after it with a passion. And the really ironic thing is, she actually did an interview after getting a concussion. And I would not have let her do that, but she agreed to do it, and then they called her in for second and third interview, and by then her head was even better than it had been the first time. But she got that job, and it wasn't because she was so much better than other candidates. It was because she was so much more passionate than other candidates. You also have to have a good political environment. You have to have an environment where you feel you can win, where it's not all about nepotism or about length of service, where it is a place where you can grow and develop and play. Now, how many people in this room say, I hate office politics? Okay, so I will tell you that's why I'm creating a book about it, and it's called 31 Days to a Better Boss. And the book is about how to get a better relationship going. I also do one-on-one coaching for that all by itself. Now, you also need a good social environment, and that is a good social environment for you personally. So some companies want you to socialize a lot. Some companies, there's no socializing. So whatever works for you is what you're looking for. Sometimes socializing is just, you know, the monthly birthday luncheon, right? And sometimes, back in the day when I worked in a big advertising agency, we went out together every Friday night. That was our Friday night. And I made friends in that company that I have still today, 30 years later. So it's up to you, whatever works for you. And of course, the most important thing is it's got to be meaningful. It's got to be meaningful work for you. Now, some people would say, well, you know, there's a lot of good jobs at Dell, but I cannot even imagine myself working there because I don't see any connection. There's no mission that I can connect to. Well, I actually worked with a teacher who wanted a better job. She got a job at Dell selling computers in their education division. And after about 6 weeks, I called her up and I said, well, what do you think now? And she said, you know, I really feel connected. I feel like I'm doing something good. And the thing to remember is that every business, all businesses are inherently good because people wouldn't buy their services if they didn't need them, right? And so you can get connected to almost any kind of a mission. But make sure that if your heart is for nonprofits, that you're looking for nonprofits. And if your heart is for commerce, then you're looking in that direction. Don't kid yourself and think that one thing is going to work for you. Well, maybe this time. You know, there's a job there. There's a good job there. So what you don't want to do is talk yourself out of what really matters. Years ago in the ad agency, we had a electric utility client, Iowa Power and Light, and they had a nuclear power facility that came online, and we were doing all kinds of press releases and bill stuffers and information about nuclear power. Well, we hired a secretary who was a tree hugger. The very first hour, I handed her some copy to type. And she marched back into my office and said, I can't type this. This is not true. Nuclear power is very dangerous. And I said, well, that's our client. And you know what? She left that morning because she couldn't get in alignment. And so don't force fit yourself into anything. You got to feel it. And the thing is, that's why you have an interview. When my clients finish their interview, I always say, how did you do? And they'll tell me, and they'll repeat some of the questions and answers and so forth. And then I say, how do you feel? That is the number one question to ask yourself after an interview. How do I feel about this job? Because if you feel good about it, chances are they feel good, and you've got a match. So the business brain, and I'm sure everybody in this room has a business brain, this is how it works. And I've got some accounting graphic there because, any accountants in the room? No. How interesting. Well, I'm the product of an accountant and a bookkeeper. Seriously. And I'm so far from that. But here's how the business mind works. The business mind says, what's different? What's wrong? What can be fixed? What do we need to work on, right? That's where the business mind goes. And the thing is, after thinking that for all of your work life, you're going to think that about your job search. And you literally have to trick your brain into positivity. And this is the way you do it. You say something positive even though the negative is staring you straight in the face. Does that make sense? So, even though Mother's Day has kept a lot of people from being here today, the people who are here today are the perfect people. You are the people that I wanted to talk to. And I'm really pleased you're here. Do you see the difference? You just flip it around. Whatever it is, you flip it around. And I happen to have a coach, and well, I have several coaches, but one of the ones that I talk to on Mondays at noon will constantly catch me. Anytime I'm saying something negative, she'll go, where are we going to take this? How can we reframe it to make it more positive? So, for example, one of my clients is a writer. She had a 5-minute interview. And I asked her, well, how did it go? She said, it was short. And she said, here's the good news. We both learned immediately that I'm the wrong person. And we didn't waste each other's time. And she's like, okay, next. And that's the way you've got to build up your muscles, your positivity muscles, is to just go, next, next, I guess it's not that, next, and so forth. So I'm going to give you now 5 tips to build your passion. And so you may want to write these down. And they work for me, they work for my clients, and even though, I'm standing up in front of you looking very confident, I get scared too. I have issues. Everybody has issues, right? So just know that these work for anyone, anywhere. Number 1, you've got to get connected to your source. And I'm really sad that that I wasn't here on the 4th so that I could say, may the 4th be with you. Whatever your source is, you want to get connected. For some of us, that's praying. For some of us, it's church going. For some of us, it's meditation. But you must give your mind a rest. How many of you, when you wake up in the morning, immediately listen to the news? Okay, stop it. Okay, what's the news? It is all the bad things that happened overnight or the day before, and people are still rehashing them, right? So one of the things you want to do in the morning is feed your brain with something wonderful, with something inspirational, with something that inspires you. It doesn't have to be the Bible. It can be anything that inspires you. And then I'm going to ask you to sit down and sit quietly for 10 minutes. By the way, you want to set your smartphone so you don't nod off. And you are going to pick a power word, and then you're going to say it 18,000 times. And the thing is that if you do that, you will put yourself into beta consciousness, and you will give your brain a rest. And it works, it's better than a nap. And it also connects you to the spirit world. And I don't know, how many of you here believe in angels and guides? Okay, good. I got a brand new one 2 months ago, and I am loving it because he's giving me so much good data. And the thing is, I only get it when I meditate. So I'm doing it. I'm doing that. And so, got to get connected to your source. Number 2, set really high expectations for yourself. So that general manager of the retail store was saying, oh, you know, as long as it's 70, I'll be okay with it. No! We looked it up. He should be making between 90 and 110. So he needs to set higher expectations for his job search. Like I said, go for the moon, and then if you get something a little less, you'll go, I still won. I won. One of my clients was at 65. We did the salary.com research. She was supposed to be making 110. And I said to her, I said, well, what do you want to set as your goal? She said, well, let's go for 80. And she just got a job for 95. And I was like, yes, yes. You know, so set your goal high. So you want to set your expectation for the right job for you. It's got to be the right job function. You want to set your expectation for more pay. How many of you feel like you need to play a little catch up after being unemployed? Okay, fine. Wouldn't it be nice to make a higher salary so that you can play catch up? You want to go for a great environment, and you want to go for a place where you can express your passion. My son, by the way, I've got this picture because he was a high jumper in high school, and his coach was 21 years old and had just graduated from college. And he said to Chad, he said, you know what, I have no idea how to do high jump. I cannot coach you, but I have this little video of Fosby in the Olympics. And Fosby, of course, is the one who did the Fosby flop, changed high jump forever because now they go over backwards. They used to go over front. And Fosby got around the rules, by the way, because there was no rule that you couldn't go backwards. And so Chad watched the video about 1,000 times, and he set a goal. He said, I am going to jump 6 feet 6 inches during my high school career. And I looked at him and went, that sounds kind of high. And I said, have you done the research on that? And he says, yep. He said that was the Olympic record and then he gave the year. He said, I'm going to be Olympic quality. in high school. And at the Drake Relays, his senior year, he jumped 6 feet 6 inches. But he had a goal. He kept a journal. He said, and as he got closer, he'd be like, Mom, I just did 5'10". Mom, I did 6 feet. Mom, I did 6'1", and so forth. So the third idea is a journal. I want you to have a journal and keep and write daily intentions. Now, some of these, they're almost like prayers. There's something that you want to happen. And of all the tools that you see in that, the most important tool is the pen. Because the scientists have found that when you write with your hand, you are engaging the emotional side of your body, of your brain. And so writing something by hand is actually more powerful than typing it. And so what does an intention look like? Oh, well, first of all, let me give you the rules. So an intention is designed to train yourself to think more positively, because we're all conditioned to think negatively, to always think of the worst case scenario. You also want to train your brain to believe what you write. So the rules are short but unlimited. Every intention should be present tense, and you want completely positive terminology. That's all the rules that there are, and then you can write anything around that. So here's an example. One of my clients wrote, I really hope to find a job. When I have a job, everything will fall into place. No. The more powerful way to write it is, I am so thankful that I have a job. Everything in my life is falling into place. You see, it's present tense as if it's already achieved. And I know you've heard this before. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an intention and reality. When you write it down, your brain accepts it as truth. So you're walking around, your brain's saying, I already have a job. I am so thankful I already have a job. Now, when you walk into a job interview, you are going to have confidence squared, because you don't have to get that job. You already have a job. The perfect job is yours, right? And that's the kind of confidence I want you to build in yourself. Very weak. I will make better career choices in the future. No, I make powerful career choices, and good things come easily to me. So those are just a couple of examples. If you want the full package on intention setting, send me an email and I'll send it to you. I've got about 30. And if you can't think of anything to write, every morning you just write 3 intentions. And if you have to copy over what you did yesterday, it's fine. It's fine. It's the act of writing and being consistent. Now, idea number 4 is to ask more and tell less. So I know that you've had other speakers cover this with you. You never want to tell your sad story in the interview process, right? So your sob story is for the people here at Launchpad that you become friends with. Maybe, the two of you can go out to lunch after Launchpad one day and then just wallow in your story. In fact, I actually attended a workshop, a landmark workshop, where we had to sit knee to knee and tell our sad story over and over and over and over. And they had us talking like 25 minutes. And they'd say, keep talking, tell the story again, tell the story again. And after about 15 minutes, people started laughing. Because it's laughable how sad our sad stories are. We're living in America. You've still got life insurance. You've got air conditioning at home. You got 3 squares a day. And your life is pathetic? Come on. No. And you've got to get over this sad story because you know what? Nobody cares. By the way, I'm a career coach and I get paid to listen. And I really hate to hear them because then I just say, okay, now that's done. We're not going to talk about that anymore. So if you need to wallow in it, do that. But when you go out and you're networking and you're coming to Launchpad and you're going places, ask more and tell less. Because when you ask, people become interested in you. When you are interested, you become interesting. You see? So when you go to one of these mixers, you know, where the companies are wanting to meet people, what you're going to do is prepare 3 great questions. And you're going to ask questions of the other person. Well, how long have you been working for Samsung? What drew you to the company? What's your job title? Not, here I am, look at me, right? You're going to do the reverse, and you're going to become more interesting. So how do you like the corporate culture here compared to there? So this assumes that you're having a career conversation or an information interview with someone, and you actually they can actually compare the cultures in 2 different companies. Or do you have any blank on your staff right now? Do you have any writers on your staff right now? Do you have any technical writers? Do you have any project managers on your staff? Oh, really? Are they pretty busy? What are they working on? Ask a lot of questions. And finally, who is the hiring manager in that department? See, this is what people forget. When they go out and do their information interviews, they don't close the sale by coming back with the name of a job, the company, and the hiring manager so that they can go after it. Number 5. Now, I've told you want to be positive, but I also want you to acknowledge everything. Because to acknowledge is to be conscious. Acknowledge everything. So, a few years back, I had a very good friend who was a software engineer build a patio cover for my patio. Now, don't ask me why I chose a software engineer to do that, but I approached the task with all the enthusiasm that I have, and he told me what lumber to buy. I even bought him a circular saw for the project, and the cement, and blah, blah, blah. So it was about $3,000 worth of stuff. And he says, I'm going to build your patio cover in 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So he shows up 8 o'clock Saturday morning, and I am prepared. I have water and beer in the refrigerator. And I have chili on the stove, and I've got the makings for chili mac, right? So he was pretty excited about that. So he starts out, it was typical Austin summer day. We're going from 80 to 100 during the day. And so he comes in at 9 and he has a bottle of water, and he comes in at 9:30 and has another bottle of water, and then he comes in at 10 and cracks open a beer, and then he comes in at 10:30, has another beer, and I'm kind of thinking, wonder how things are going out there. So I'm looking out and no progress. I can see nothing has been done. The lumber's stacked in the same place. I mean, I couldn't see that anything had been done. Finally, he comes in at 12:30. So he has another beer and eats the chili, and he says, well, I need some acknowledgement. And I'm thinking, acknowledge what? What? Acknowledge what? But I didn't say anything. He says, come on with me. And we went out, and he showed me the 4 most beautifully dug 6-foot holes for the posts that were going to support my patio cover. And beside them, a mountain of caliche rock. He had done that by hand. 6-foot holes. He said, now what we're going to do, we're going to put You know, we're going to put the wood in, we're going to put the cement around it, we're going to let it dry overnight, and tomorrow I will finish your patio cover. So he says to me, what do you think? And I'm like, great holes. Those are great holes. But I have to tell you that that's the way it goes at work, doesn't it? We do all this invisible work, and we never get credit. And in fact, we might have a micromanaging boss who comes back to us and says, well, you know, how's it going? Well, you've been working all along doing the invisible stuff, the planning, setting up the structure, the process, whatever it is. And so the thing for, you know, the message for managers is you've got to acknowledge progress. And the thing for you to remember is to be kind to yourself. And this is why acknowledgement works. And you see this acknowledge. The root of the word is to know. So acknowledgement is to admit something to be real or true, to express recognition, to recognize the validity of something, to express appreciation. And the most important thing, and the only thing you need to remember, is just to notice. So in your job search, I want you to notice when you're making progress and acknowledge yourself. I want you to just break your hand, patting yourself on the back. Now, if you have a coach or if you have a buddy, you can call him up and say, hey, guess what? I got a call from Retail Me Not. I got a call from Blue Whale. I can't believe it. And they want me to come in for an interview. And you want to acknowledge progress of any kind. And there isn't anything that people want more than to feel like they've been noticed. And so when you're not getting noticed on the job, you've got to notice yourself. And you've got to train your family members to acknowledge you. So you want to acknowledge problems, changes. You want to acknowledge your own failings. Wow, I'm really not very good at this, you know, and I need help. You also want to acknowledge talents. A lot of times we take our talents and just go, oh, that's no big deal. Anybody can program in C++, except me, and about everybody else, right? We don't really see what we're good at. We need to acknowledge progress. And number 6 is the most important. We need to acknowledge effort. Acknowledge yourself for working hard. That day that Jeff filled out the government application, the TxDOT application, he called me when it was done and he says, I'm having a beer. I am enjoying this moment. My application is in. And I said, good for you. That is perfect. That's just what you need to do. So that's acknowledgement. And you want to acknowledge success, of course. So what I want you to do is just turn to the person next to you and to just say, I want to acknowledge you for the tough job of job seeking. And I know what you're going through. So do that real quickly. Okay, thank you for coming back. So this is another trick that I've learned as a way to make up to any family member who's feeling a little miffed or peeved or ticked off or any of those other words, right? And how you do that is to acknowledge them. Yesterday, I got a new garage door. Now you might think, well, that's kind of a no big deal kind of thing. To me, it's a big deal because I've been asking my husband for a garage door for 8 years. We have had power tools. We no longer, by the way, are insecure, but we had power tools in the garage and other various valuables sitting out for anybody to take because we had no garage door. Now, obviously, garage door is not important to my husband. However, he got a bonus, and we have a very interesting relationship because his money is his money and my money is mine. And so I said to him, I said, do I get a bonus this year? And he said, well, maybe. He said, what do you want? I said, a garage door. And he's like, really? I said, yes. So yesterday I got a garage door. It will be on my Facebook page. It is my garage door. And after it was all done, I went up to his office. We both office at home. And I went upstairs to his office and he said, I just want to acknowledge you for noticing how important the garage door was for me. Of course, in my mind, I'm thinking, for 8 years, but honestly, he finally got the message. And it really means a lot to me to have a secure home. And I just feel like our home is so much more attractive now that we don't have this open garage situation, right? And it's the same way that I needed to acknowledge him after he got the cars out of the yard. We had dead cars in our yard. And I told him, I said, we are not the Clampetts. Please remove the cars. Let's donate them to charity and get rid of them. Right. And I acknowledged him when that happened. So the thing is that you can use acknowledgement to repair any relationship. And you just have to use those words. I really want to acknowledge you for this or that. And I noticed, in fact, I came upstairs to go to bed the other night and the dishwasher was running. Some little elf had put the dishes into the dishwasher and started it. Now, it had to be my husband, right? So I with him and I said, thank you for starting the dishwasher. I really, really appreciate it. And he says, that's nothing. But he's thinking to himself, this is a big deal. I actually cleaned up the kitchen, right? So, just doing that, doing those little acknowledgments can mean a bunch, but you have to do it for yourself too. And did you notice when you had a partner acknowledging you, do you feel like even if they said something that wasn't totally accurate, it still worked? Yeah, it still works. I mean, you could actually go to a total stranger here at Launchpad and say, I'd like to be acknowledged for the fact that I just turned in an application to TxDOT. And they could probably give you a 2-minute acknowledgement. Wow, that is a big deal. That I can see how much work that would be, and so forth. So you got to get that acknowledgement. And the final thing, I'm going to call it 5.1, is get into community. Now, the number one community is Launchpad Job Club. You want to be here because these are your peeps. These are the people who are going to help you. These are the people who are going through the same tunnel. You want to get involved in the club list. You want to get involved in Leap for Success. Or is it Leap 2?
Leap 2.
2 Success. And finally, you may want to do a group learning program. So you've been so kind, Kathy, as to mention that I'm always cooking up something. Well, my new thing is called the Ultimate Career Blueprint. And it is going to be a group learning program where you transform the beliefs that are limiting your current income or your former income. You become the one and only candidate for a job. You increase your status and income in your career. We're all about that. And you make yourself absolutely irresistible to employers. And finally, we're going to teach you how to directly connect with recruiters and your future boss. So that's what the group learning program is about. And there is a free teleconference where you're going to learn more about it. And actually, I'm going to give you the answers to those 5 things. I'm going to tell you how to do those 5 things. And so what I've done is provided a little handout. Can you help me, please? The handout gives you just what you see on the screen up there. Plus, I've given you a little bit.ly to sign up for the free teleconference. The free teleconference is offered twice. It's next Thursday and the Thursday after. So would you mind passing these out? Yeah. Did everybody get one? I actually made 110 copies, so we have plenty to go around. Here we need to take some back there. Thank you. So why do a group program? So that you get the support and you get the community that you need. So, are you going to be successful if you have the passion? Yes, I think so. But I want to warn you about one thing. There's a very famous economist who has discovered what is called the J curve of success. And it looks like a hockey stick, if you see it, graphed there. And he uses the example of a grocery store that realizes that their clientele wants more organic beef. So they add this huge cooler, spend a lot of money, and start sourcing organic beef. And in the beginning, the sales actually go down until people get used to the idea of the organic beef. And then they start to go up, and then they take off like a rocket. And they have repeated this J curve of success in almost every industry there is. And so I got to believe that in your job search, you're going to have a J curve of success. And I have actually seen this in my clients, where we will start out, and the first thing is there's a dip because we're getting the marketing together and so forth, and not much is going on. And then there's a very, very slight incline in activity. And then at some point, and of course this is right where the dog's head is, that's where you want to be, it takes off like a rocket. And I mean, I had a client who 2 weeks ago was absolutely discouraged and no way. And yesterday, she got a job with Apple. So, you know, one day she's like down in the dumps. We've been working at this thing for 3 months. I've had 3 interviews, not much going on. And all of a sudden, she has a job offer. And guess what? She got 2 more job offers behind that. And that's where that happened, right there. That it was a big spike. And she did, by the way, choose the Apple job, and I supported her 100% on that. But the interesting thing is, if you pursue your job search with a lot of passion, you can actually make this happen. Because all of a sudden, all your marketing efforts, all the networking, all the people who are friends and advocates who are looking out for you, all of a sudden, all those seeds that you planted start to come to fruition. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is so easy. I couldn't believe it could be this easy. But you've got to put in, you got to put the passion in. And the more passion you have, the better it's going to work. So, are you passionate? Yeah! Let's stand up and be passionate, animated, caring, cheerful, committed, dedicated. Yes! Thank you.